Welcome to Gembali Media Space. Today we will be having our first ever conversations, the podcast edition on Gembali Medias, and I'm very, very excited about that. From the moment that we are actually conceived to when we are born, we begin to go on this journey called life. And what we make of it, sometimes we are actually called to believe that there is a power, a higher power, that calls us to fulfill a purpose. And life is not always fair, things are not always right, but what you make of all those challenges actually determines and just sets you apart to be a greater person. So basically, today I'm talking to one dynamic, industrious, pushful lady who I personally believe has gotten to live her purpose, and she still continues to evolve in that particular purpose. If you were lucky to watch the last video on Gembali Media Space that was unveiling the power of yoga, you would have been fortunate enough to know this lady. We met her then as just a yoga coach, and now she will be unveiling the different layers that is the lady called Glory NGWANA. She is an entrepreneur, she is a career woman, she is a philanthropist, and most importantly, she is just Glory. So come with me as we get to have this conversation with Glory NGWANA Bizio. Gembali Media Space.
Thank you, and thank you once more for having me here.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
I always ask, are you excited? At this point, I feel like you should just move in and just be a permanent guest on Gembali Media Space, because
You'll be my honor here. You'll be my honor.
we'll be so lucky to have you, because
Thank
there's so
you.
much wisdom that I believe you can share.
Thank you.
On this platform, we seek to create an environment where youth can come to for maybe inspiration, maybe for motivation, and just an all-round platform where we can try and leverage knowledge, power, and just the skills where you can be an impactful youth of this our generation. So it is a privilege to have somebody like you who has a lot of all of that to share with us today.
Thank you, and I must confess, that's a nice vision.
Thank you. Thank you. So this conversation is actually titled "Till Life Do Us Part."
Okay?
And people I know will definitely be wondering why that title. That is actually titled after her upcoming autobiography. So she is an author, and that is her first ever work of art that she will be publishing, "Till Life Do Us Part." That's it's just an amazing way of maybe putting that out. We are very, very familiar with "Till Death Do Us Part."
I know.
So to say "Till Life Do Us Part." So this conversation is going to be dissecting into that. And I think I'll quickly also just remind everyone why I believe that these conversations are necessary and that they are also timely. For me, as a young girl, I had a very close relationship with the ultimate man in my life, and that was my dad, who is sadly of late today. But he left me with just a lot of wisdom that was encapsulated in all these adages and in all these other proverbs and stuff. And as I begin to journey through life, I start to experience most of what he used to tell me in all these proverbs. At that time, I was too young to even dissect. So now I begin to see it reflect in other people's lives and in their own stories. So I started to think, oh, you know what, these are timely conversations to have, maybe for those youths who are not opportune enough to have that same conversation. So "Till Life Do Us Part," the autobiography, I believe has a lot of the things that I used to talk about with him. But that's from your own perspective, because I cannot steal that story. But that's from your own perspective. So I'm eager for us to just dive into it and to dissect. The first important question for me is, why write an autobiography, especially when first you are still alive and you are still young?
Okay. Karen, life is all about building a story, and I used to always advise people that make sure you are building a beautiful story to tell, that people will be excited to listen, or people will be able to learn from it to impact their life positively. So I believe at the stage of my life, I have built some stories that needed to be shared, because if we're on a wait at the last moment, we may not have the time to share all the stories. So let me begin with the one that I've already built, while hoping to build more.
And then the title itself, "To Life Do Us Part." Why that title? And
Oh, there's a story behind the title. I remember Excited Glory some years back, walking down the altar of Presbyterian Church, Ta'amulong in Bamenda, as my father accompanied me and handed me to my husband. And I looked straight into the eyes of my husband and I said, "From this day forward till death do us part." And the pastors added, "What God has put together, let no man put asunder." Then we walk out of the church singing, "That they may love one another, we pray, O Lord, that they may live in peace and harmony, that they may see their children's children, that the love that we share today with you may abide today and forever. May it be shared with the needy around you." Just 1 year after all this vow, the opposite became my life. I became homeless. I became friendless. I became helpless. I became jobless at a certain moment. And I started asking myself, this was opposite to the vows I made. And worse of it, my life was worse than when I entered into the relationship or marriage. And I finally realized that in my own case, death did not do me part, but life did me part. So till life do us part.
wow, it's just so overwhelming already. Like, I can't wait to dive into that particular story and really get to share more with others.
I promise you, it's the knowledge basket.
Tell me about it. But what are the other themes that you get into when you discuss it?
Actually, it is all about the interpersonal relationship and the ramification around it. Interpersonal relationship can be husband and wife, fiance, colleagues, family members, and the challenges that we face as far as interpersonal relationship is concerned. What happened if it doesn't work, and what happened also if it works. So it is surrounding an interpersonal relationship.
I've been privileged to get a preview and like a cynic preview of this upcoming book. But I remember talking to myself when I, read it or when I heard it. I was like, I'm not sure that this is a true story. I'm like, this cannot be real. So for me, I know the story and you just summarized a little bit of that for us. But if you were to summarize to somebody who is just joining us now, what would you say the story of Glory is?
Karen, anyone entering into marriage or relationship hopes for the best. Nobody hopes for the bad side or the negative side of it. And so was I when I was entering into my own relationship and marriage. I dreamed of the best that will come out of the relationship. But not long from the time, I realized that I was, as I earlier said, the opposite was my life. I started fighting evil forces. I started fighting in-laws. I started fighting with women in my own house, and even the husband that I thought was with me suddenly became against me, and I found myself sleeping in church for 24 months because I was homeless, and I thought probably I needed to pray more to rescue my marriage or rescue my life from this situation. And that made me to seek for help from more than 40 pastors. And most of these pastors got me also confused that at a certain moment I stopped seeing them and I decided to become the pastor of my life. But I was determined to change my narrative. I was determined to change my story and become a motivational speaker, because I also realized that my unprivileged background gave opportunity for people to treat me anyhow, because they knew that there was nobody to fight for me.
No backing.
Yeah, so I was ready to build that background and be the background for myself and for my nephews, nieces, children, and for the world at large, for those who have the opportunity to come through me.
Where would you say that you were able to tap that particular, power from, the force, the resilience to be able to go through these challenges? Where would you say you got that from? Is there supernatural power we should all be looking at?
When Jesus was carrying the cross at a certain moment, he had a helper. And I sometimes believe all of us have a helper in life, and the universe knows how to bring that helper to you at the due time. So when I was going through that worst stage of my life with a lot of societal thoughts crossing my mind, I had a helper known as my counselor, Mr. Emmanuel. He was there guiding me, giving me the strength, and I always describe that moment. It was a moment I didn't believe in myself, but he believed in me. So I hook on to his belief system for me, waiting for the time that my own belief system completed.
Wow. You know, the hardest thing sometimes is to be able to know when you can ask for help, or to even understand that asking for help is okay. Because we've been taught in Africa to believe that marriage is for better, for worse, and you must die in it, whether it works or whether it fails. So, when did you feel like, what actually pushed you to know that now it's okay for me to ask for help? And this is a cry for help, I need this help, and I'm going to talk to people about it and get help.
Oh, when I found myself in that situation, the first thing I realized that I couldn't help it myself. I needed support. And the first I could do was cry to God, to the universe, and the guidance came. But I realized that when it was really hot, I knew that I couldn't handle it alone. So at that moment, when you realize that you cannot handle it alone, that's the moment you seek for help.
I think that is it. At that moment, when you realize that this cross is too much for me to bear, then you can ask for help. Do you always have that thing of like, what if I actually speak? Will I start fighting these particular people again? Like, should I just move on and just bury it? Do you fear about the reaction of the people that you might have mentioned in the autobiography?
Why should I fear my story? It is my story, and the objective of the story is what counts. I want to help those who may be passing through or who had passed through and they don't know how to go about it, to read from my story and be better off in life than what the situation has caused them to be. So the advantage of the story is higher than the disadvantage of the story, that probably the people that were involved may feel bad. But let's look at the advantage of the story.
Yeah, like how many girls are going to learn from this?
Yes.
So when I think about it as well, I want to ask myself, what was this process of writing for you? Because that must have been that now you need to unpack again feelings that you might have worked out. You need to start reliving the memories that you might have managed to at some point bury. How was the writing process for you? Was it a therapeutic one or was it a hellish one?
I must be honest to you. I never believed I'll be an author in 2023. Probably maybe
sometime later.
Yes, but not now. But you know that when strategy strikes, it gives birth. Like when you hear of the song, "It is well with my soul," it came out of a strategy. And when you hear of Taj Mahal, it was built out of a strategy. So in 2022, a strategy struck me that kept me wondering. My elder brother drove from Bamenda in his own car, entered my house at 10 p.m. and after 7 hours, he became rest in peace. So that scenario made me to redefine life, to question life. And the burden I had was that I believe my brother contributed to the riches of the graveyard, as Dr. Miles Monroe would say, that in the graveyard lies books that were never written, songs that were never sung. So I did not want also to contribute to the riches of the graveyard when my time comes. So at that particular moment, I felt I must do something. And what was I supposed to do was to continue with my brother's legacy, and he was a writer. So at that particular moment, I said, okay, I should start sharing our story. Probably his own will come later, but I should start with mine. And that was how I found myself writing this book.
What can we equip ourselves with to be able to fight tragedy? Like in the moment when that tragedy strikes.
I would say it is the combination of all. And for me, I had to look up to God for grace. I had to seek for help from my counselor because it almost brought me into depression. But the techniques from my counselor, and with my yoga discipline, I knew the type of breathing technique I would do to calm down the anger, to calm down anxiety. I knew the poses that I would do to let go of the stress. So I would say it is a combination of spiritual and physical help that you need at that time. But know that you are not alone. People's situation may be worse than yours. So know that that is life and accept it.
So then comes yoga. Then comes yoga. You adopt the practice of the Indians. I don't think it's actually the Indians' practice, it's actually a universal practice, but they've been known to really understand the power of yoga and to really leverage it in their own communities. So, what was your first encounter like with yoga, and what made it click for you to say, you know what, I'm going to adopt this practice for real and keep it?
As I said, in life we have helpers, and the helper I had introduced me to yoga. And I was skeptical because I thought I was going to believe in certain gods that is different from my Christian background.
Mhm.
But because I respected and obeyed him, I decided to give a try. And when I started seeing the benefit it had on me, I realized that, this is a good thing. Yes, the poses were difficult from the beginning, but like it is said in the Bible, faith cometh by hearing, hearing, hearing. So the various poses cometh by practicing. Practicing. So when I saw, as I earlier said in the last video, so when I saw the benefit it had on me, I thought it was wise to give it back to my society. So I went to India to grab some knowledge, some skills to come back.
You mentioned a key thing while you were just answering this that just spoke to me, and it was about obedience. The power of obedience from even the time of the Bible, and when you look at it, and just also the fact that because you were respectful to somebody that you actually fear, that was actually guiding you, you had to obey without actually thinking about it. And I think that's a quality, that's an attribute that a lot of us youths have kind of lost along the way.
Yeah.
The power of obedience, to just say, you know what, I'm going to just do this because my elder said it's very necessary for me. So that comes and that reminds me of what my dad would always tell me. What an elder sees while they are seated. Even if you climb the tallest tree, you will never see.
You're right.
So that is where you see conversations with my father.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes in. But now for me, you've just mentioned also something that is very, very important. We just came from actually celebrating the World Day for Mental Health, and that's a discussion that is very touchy. In Africa, we still don't believe that there's such a thing called depression or even suicidal thoughts. I mean, we do believe it now because we've seen a lot of it happen more and more, but there is that stigma to talk about it openly, to come out and say, hey, I'm fighting. Like, today I don't feel like I want to wake up from my bed. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to, and just have the up and down moments and all of that. And you just come out of that. You've been able to live through that and fight those particular suicidal thoughts. What are your thoughts on mental health, and how can people manage that aside from the tools that you yourself practice?
My upcoming books, one will be talking about depression, especially in our African content, because we don't believe in it, or even if we believe in it, the percentage is so low, but people are dying with depression.
Yeah.
People are dying with depression. My first remark, my first advice in that stage of depression, do not be alone, because this suicidal thought starts coming in when you are lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are alone, the thoughts overshadows even your normal thinking, and you find yourself committing suicide. So in that depression mode, please seek for counseling help. It is very important. Seek for counseling help. You cannot do it on your own at that particular moment. Let's not pretend. Seek for counseling help. We have people that have studied to bring you out of that.
One of the things that I would tell people for free, because one of the rubrics of this particular channel is actually entrepreneurship, and one of the things that I would tell them for free is that entrepreneurship is the fastest way to go down.
Oh, yes.
It's the fastest way to go down and never wake up. Like, you wake up on every blessed day and there is another battle coming at you while you're still solving the other battle. So But what are the things that can equip you? Do you see yourself? I know you are already an entrepreneur because yoga is now actually developing into something that has now gone from just passion
Yeah, even the
to
foundation.
profit, and even the foundation, and even with this upcoming book, which you're encouraged to buy, by the way, when it does drop. So, how do you see yourself managing this? I know you must have some challenges already as an entrepreneur. So, even before you're fully launching into it, you have challenges as an entrepreneur. Would you like to share any?
You know, one of the first challenge is most people will not believe in your vision.
Oh, yeah.
Even the closest ones around you will not believe in your vision. But remember also that vision was given only to you.
Mm-hmm.
They might guide you, and sometimes the second is you have the vision, but the how to go about it, especially in this our environment that
Yeah.
it is fighting for yourself, not like the other environment where the system helps you in your
The system.
Yes, but our own system is fighting on your own. These are some of the challenges. But if you stick on the motivation behind it, it is the energy that keeps you going. I used to say, know your why, because your why power will be that fuel that will fuel your car to keep you going in that vision.
So today, Glory has 2 master's degrees.
Yes.
Tell us the story of that. I know there's a very interesting story behind the 2 masters. Why 2 masters?
Oh, because the society made my mom not to go to school, so I decided to study for me and my mother. So the second master's is for my mother. So make sure to quote me everywhere that the second master is for my mother.
So Anan Nabu has which of the masters? Masters in what? Business administration? Which one is yours and which one is hers?
Anan Nabu has master's in business administration.
And you didn't think to end there. You thought I should go ahead and do that PhD too.
Yes, because why could they have thought that women are not of value to send them to school? So I wanted to see the end of the school.
Yeah, PhD. How many years?
I've been studying. I'm almost rounding up. I'm on the last stage now. In some few months, I'll be done.
And while you were doing that particular PhD, did you look around inside the classroom and see that the proportion of women to men who are now doing this particular PhD has actually changed, or is it just the same old story?
This is a question that I've been asking myself right from when I was doing my BSc, because I have my BSc in computer science, and in my class we were just like 4 girls in those days. I was like, where are the women in the IT world? Where are they? And later on, I moved into masters in business administration, and the women also were less. Now the PhD.
We're getting there. We're getting there. It's actually funny because as somebody who I have my younger sister, and a PhD has always been her ultimate goal. The one who follows me directly, she's gonna die for me sharing this story. But she's always wanted that particular PhD, and I was at some point after the masters, I was like, "Girl, aren't you tired? Can't you just come back and let's work this money together and see how we'll take care of the other ones?" And she went behind my back, and she effectively rolled in to get the PhD.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, at this point, we better just support you. So I'm talking as one who's trying to kill the dream of a fellow girl that's doing a PhD. So please, what can we do to really encourage more girls to start maybe actually vying for this PhD?
All we need to do is advocate, use our stories. Like today, if tomorrow you see me with a PhD having a better opportunity, you would like to be like me. So let's use my story or the case of your sister and encourage others that if we could do it, yes, you can do it.
And with that advocacy, you've now decided to set up the Anan Foundation. You've just decided your mom is just going to live and live forever.
Yes.
So with the Anan Foundation, what is the goal? I know it's about, fostering education.
Yes. The Anan Foundation has a vision to empower the vulnerable girl child into a woman of value, and we do that through 4 pillars. The first is girls' education, through a platform known as the Network of Education, where we empower the girls to optimize their potential upon graduating and obtaining a job, they will also empower others, thereby creating the network of education and reality. And we have also women empowerment, where we support women financially. We are the voice for the voiceless, and and so forth.
How many beneficiaries have you had so far, and when did you effectively launch the foundation?
It started in 2019, just with one student, and that student is already a graduate having a job. As of now, the current students are 12, and this year we are onboarding 5 more.
How many of them want to have a PhD?
Oh, everybody is like, we want to be like you, we want to be like you. So I'm gonna have a lot of PhDs.
But I mean, 12 girls that you've given opportunities to, that otherwise could have maybe not had that opportunity, or could have ended up in, the basic, just early motherhood situation. I believe that that's also something that you're very passionate about, trying to see how we can curb the rate of early pregnancies through, fostering girls to go to school and be effective. So in that case, have you had an encounter where there was a girl that had so much potential but let it or go because of an early pregnancy?
Not quite, but the one I instead have was the one that had already dropped out of school because of early pregnancy, and she had a baby and was really wanting to go back to school. So when she applied, honestly, I was forced to impose her among the jury members for her case, to encourage others that even after this situation, you can go back to school, because this is a situation that we really need to address in our society, thinking that when you give birth, that is all about you. No. And we are always the one discouraging them because of our hate language or our discouragement. But we also have to understand that as far as humans are concerned, you are bound to make life mistakes. So mistakes should be treated as mistakes and not life sentence. So they have made a mistake. So it is an opportunity to advise them, correct them with love, and tell them that after this you can get back to the classroom.
Isn't that just it? That's phenomenal. But not a lot of people actually understand that. So now, do you have others that have bought onto that particular dream of Anan Foundation that maybe want to support you in cash and kind? And if that were not the case, how can somebody effectively support the Anan Foundation, even if?
The most important are the volunteers who come to work with me for free.
Yeah.
For free. And we also have well-wishers that once a while they chip in to say, Glory, we believe in your vision. May the grace be with you. But if you want to support, we are very much available and open.
So otherwise, you're doing it from your pockets?
Yes, for now. With as far as NGOs are concerned, you need to build trust before the supporters start coming in. So I'm still in the period of building trust. Hoping that the time will come.
And you said a very important thing which we don't practice a lot in Cameroon, which is the art of volunteering. A lot of the developed countries have actually understood the power in that you can effectively volunteer yourself maybe for even 3 months. I mean, in like a society such as in the US, you are actually required to have at least 1,000 hours of volunteer work.
Coming to think of it, the problem is because now everybody wants to be masters. Nobody seeks for servanthood. Everybody wants to be mastered. They forget to know that only in servanthood comes the masterhood. So all our youth, everybody wants to be master. No, they are making a big error. You start as a servant before getting to that masterhood.
Just talking about that brings me to this point of actually recognizing the aspect of leadership in Cameroon. What will you define that in our Cameroonian context? I'm talking about the textbook definition of leadership. I'm talking about what has been your personal observation around leadership in Cameroon.
Dictatorship. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest.
Dictatorship, yeah.
I also believe that one day it will change. We will leave that leadership style and get back to the servant leadership.
So what can we do in our individual capacities to push change?
The change should start with yourself. In my yoga discipline, I always say, if you don't love yourself, you won't be able to love others. If you don't have the peace within you, won't be able to spread that peace to others. So change should start with us. Once it starts with us, we can then spread it to our neighbors, we can then spread it to our family, we can then spread it to our country. Start with us. We need to change.
That's wisdom.
Thank you.
For those of you who want to get the book to Life Do Us Part, where do we find it?
It will be available in December. We're finalizing it, and you have it everywhere, the bookshop, Amazon. I'm going to
You're going to make some noise.
I'm going to make some noise.
We are going to be making some noise
Yes.
about the Life to Us part.
Yes.
What is your takeaway from all of this at the end of the day? I know the basic things that we will talk about is resilience, is courage, is all of that. But deep down in you, in the middle of the night, when you wake up and you ask yourself, what is my takeaway from the life that I have lived?
The takeaway is identifying your purpose on earth and let it be your motivation. Now, I know you may ask me, how do we identify our purpose on earth? Analyze the challenges that comes your way. The challenges and your purpose of life are twin brothers and sisters.
Where does Christianity stand for you right now in life?
Oh.
Hot seat.
I was conceived in that environment, grown in that environment. I'm a daughter of a pastor. So.
And you're a product of grace.
Thank you. So Christianity is the first thing that guides my path through Christ Jesus. And when it is more than me, I surrender to the grace to guide me.
Amen.
Amen.
So, as a first-time author, what are the challenges that you faced while writing this book?
Nobody coached me what it takes to be an author. Actually, writing the book wasn't a challenge because, as I told you, it was the period when my brother passed away, and the speed in which I took to write the book was as if he lives in me because it flowed. I was just airing my mind, and it was flowing. But when I gave the first copy to the editor, and it came back, I saw African magic. All the pages were all red pens, and I asked myself, who is going to redo this work? At a certain moment, I wanted to give up, but I had already started. And surprisingly, at the end, my editor had to ask me to buy some books, English books, writing books that would help me in my future. So I had to now invest to learn English, to learn how to write here.
So if you were not to make back all of the money, I presume that you've already spent on writing this particular book, would you give up on your career as an author?
First, I don't think the objective is to have money.
Mm-hmm.
The objective is to impact my generation. As I told you, that is my goal.
Preach.
It's to impact my generation.
Preach. Yeah. So who would you like to give credit for this work of art? I mean, those who are probably imparted to you.
First to my brother of blessed memory, Timothy Pichankwa NGWANA. May his soul rest in peace. And secondly, to those who gave me the materials to write the book. They say in everything, give thanks. So I thank my ex-husband, I thank my ex-sister-in-laws, and I thank my friends who contributed to give me this material to write my first book in life. And to my counselor, Mr. Emmanuel Chengo, who had been behind me for long, glory, it is time to write your story, and I'll say it's not yet time. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Oh.
And also to my editor who beautified the book, because the input and the output are two different things.
Yeah.
He really beautified the book.
Wow. So, do we have any imaginary characters in this book? Like, did you try to put some fiction onto it to make it better for marketing, or everything that people will read in this book is indeed
everything is real? All I have done is I've hidden some names. I've changed names.
Before they start slapping you with them defamation
suits. So that's the only thing that is different in the book. The change of names.
I'm asking this just to make sure that you understand that when you do get to read this particular book, trust me, you will be amazed. You might think that this is actually somebody's work of fiction, but this is real and this is somebody's story. So it just brings us back to that point of my opening, that what life throws at you is not always fair, it's not always right, it's not always just, but what actually life dumps at you and how you handle it sets you apart for greatness. So effectively, that's what you've done. They say life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So, I mean, I'm just, as somebody who is younger and who looks a lot up to you, it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you and tap on these words of knowledge, because as you are a motivational, speaker, if maybe somebody wanted to reach out to you and tap out from this well of knowledge, do you have some events where you talk at, or is it a one-on-one? How do they do?
Okay, first you can get me through my personal website, www.busywool.com. And my social media platform, you have me Busywool Glory NGWANA in all the social media platforms. And you can also get me personally via 677-550619.
And you
through you.
Yeah, and definitely, of course, you can get to her through us on this particular platform. And they can also get to you if maybe they're interested in yoga and they want to start flexing some poses. Be sure to go back and watch the last video and see what she made us do.
Yes. For yoga, it is Yoga with Busywool in all the social media platforms. My contacts are there.
We finally did it. We finally sat down and we finally had that conversation.
It is an honor. It is an honor.
No, the pleasure was
And I appreciate your vision. And I pray may the grace be with you in this vision.
Amen. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've just had our first ever conversation on Gembali Media. And I hope that this conversation was rich enough for you. I hope that this conversation blessed you. And I hope that if you identify with any aspect of this conversation, you can immediately understand that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out to us as well. If you feel like there is something that we can actually do for you to help you. And let's just keep having those difficult conversations together. In the subsequent videos, I will be bringing more of my friends, more of my, mentors, people that I definitely look up to be sharing with me. And just we intend to shatter the tables and have the real life conversations. It's not the fictional conversations. It's not the things that people don't want to talk about. It's what people talk about behind the closed doors. We'll be having more of that conversation. Thank you for sticking with us. I hope you did like it. I would encourage you to go back and to like our channel, to subscribe on this channel for more content, to hit the notification bell so that you're not missing out when there's anything new on Gembali Media Space. So thank you, and it was my absolute pleasure. We go back to talking everything: new generations, entrepreneurship, marketing, branding, art, lifestyle, and youth, among the subsequent videos. But for now, this was conversation.